What kind of mother decides to give away her own children? Emma Richardson asked herself that question every morning, and every morning the answer hurt a little more. The crack of gunfire shook the Wyoming plains, echoing across the dry earth like a warning. Emma pulled her two young children close, her thin arms trembling as she scanned the open land. Fear gripped her chest until she spotted a hunter in the distance. Just a wild turkey shot. Not bandits. Not danger. But her body stayed tense because fear had lived inside her for months. Emma was only 26, but life had aged her. Her husband's fresh grave lay on the rocky hillside behind their crumbling homestead. Thomas had been kind, hard-working, the one who held everything together. Since the fever took him, everything had fallen apart. Her pantry held nothing now except a few dried beans and a little spoiled flour. 6-year-old Sarah tugged her skirt weakly. "Mama, I'm hungry." Emma forced a smile she no longer felt. "We'll eat soon, sweetheart." Jacob, only 4, nodded, even though he could barely lift his head. Their cheeks were hollow, their steps slower every day. Emma felt failure settle heavy on her heart. The drought had killed her small garden. No water, no crops, no money. She had sold everything Thomas left behind. His pocket watch, her wedding ring, even the last good blanket. Nothing was left. That morning, under the sharp spring sun, Emma made a choice that tore her soul open. She would walk 10 miles to Sweetwater Junction and beg the Reverend to find homes for her children. Homes that could feed them, homes that could keep them alive. She packed a small cloth sack with their last belongings and tried to speak with cheer she didn't feel. "We're going on a journey. Put on your best clothes." The walk was long. Jacob's boots had holes, and by noon she carried him in her aching arms. Sarah walked beside her, picking a few stubborn wildflowers pushing through the dry ground. When they were still 3 miles from town, Emma saw a dust cloud. A rider approached fast. Her heart pounded as she stepped in front of her children. Strangers could mean trouble. As the horse drew closer, she saw a tall man with a broad chest and sunburned skin, riding a strong chestnut stallion. He slowed immediately, staying several steps away so he wouldn't startle them. "Ma'am," he said, tipping his hat. "Preston Quincy, you headed somewhere?" Emma swallowed. "Sweetwater Junction, we're fine, thank you." Preston studied the children's thin faces and Emma's shaking hands. "That's still a long piece away. I can give the young ones a ride." "We don't need charity," Emma said, though her voice broke when Jacob whimpered. Preston dismounted slowly, showing he meant no harm. "No charity, ma'am, just courtesy." He reached into his saddlebag and pulled out a small cloth-wrapped bundle. "Jerky and hardtack. Not fancy, but it'll keep you standing." Sarah's eyes lit up. Jacob stared at the food like it was a miracle. Emma hesitated, torn between pride and the hunger in her children's eyes. Jacob's stomach growled loudly. Emma felt shame burn her cheeks. "Thank you," she whispered, taking the food with trembling hands. As the children ate, Preston gently asked about her husband, her home, her family back east. Emma told him everything in simple, tired words. About Thomas dying, about the drought, about the loneliness, about her father disowning her for marrying a stable hand. "And what brings you to town today?" Preston asked softly. Emma checked that the children were busy eating before she spoke. Her voice cracked. "The Reverend helps find homes for children. I can't feed mine anymore." Her shoulders shook as she turned away. Preston's jaw tightened. Something in him shifted. He had seen hardship on the trail. But this woman's quiet strength broke something open inside him. "Mrs. Richardson," he said carefully, "I'm headed to a ranch 20 miles north. The owner, Robert Holbrook, needs a cook and housekeeper. Pays fair. There's a cabin for workers with families." Hope flickered in her eyes, then vanished. "I don't cook anything fancy, and no ranch wants children underfoot." "Holbrook is different," Preston said firmly. "His wife died last winter. Place feels empty. He'd welcome a woman and kids. Makes a place feel like home again." Emma searched his face for lies. She found none. "Why help us? You don't know me." Preston looked down at his boots. When he raised his eyes, the truth in them was raw. My ma died when I was 8, drought like this one. My pa gave my youngest sister to cousins back east. We never saw her again. Emma gasped, hand covering her mouth. I'm so sorry. So am I, he said quietly. I don't want another family torn apart if I can help it. Let me take you. Let me help your young ones. Emma looked at her children, color already returning to their cheeks. Maybe this was the miracle she needed. I need to tell the Reverend we won't need homes after all, she whispered. Preston smiled, a warm, gentle smile that softened his rugged face. We'll stop there on the way. Come on, I'll walk beside the horse. Emma lifted Sarah and Jacob onto the saddle. Preston helped her up next. As they rode toward town, Sarah asked him question after question, giggling at his stories of goofy trail cooks and stubborn cattle. Emma found herself laughing too, surprised by the sound. Preston glanced up at her softly. Your husband would want to hear that laugh again. Emma's eyes filled with tears, but she nodded. He would. For the first time in months, hope returned to her heart. Emma stood outside the little church in Sweetwater Junction, while Preston kept the children busy with the horse. The town was quiet, the wooden buildings worn by wind and dust. When Reverend Walsh heard her story, he placed a gentle hand over hers. You made the right choice, Mrs. Richardson. A mother who walks 10 miles to save her children is a mother who has not given up. Her eyes filled with tears. He gave her a few coins from the church fund, insisting she take them. When she stepped outside again, Preston was kneeling beside Sarah, showing her how to braid the leather reins. The sight warmed Emma more than the sun ever could. They left town with a few supplies and headed toward Holbrook Ranch. As the afternoon stretched on, the land dipped into rolling hills. Emma rode behind Preston, holding the children close, feeling, for the first time in months, safe. That night, they camped under cottonwood trees near a shallow creek. Preston built a small fire and heated beans and jerky in a dented tin pot. The children fell asleep wrapped in a spare blanket he offered. Emma and Preston sat by the embers, the soft crackle filling the silence. Tell me about Thomas, Preston said gently. Most people avoided mentioning him. But Preston looked like someone who would actually listen. He was kind, Emma said. Steady. A man who could fix anything. Even me. How were you broken? Preston asked. Emma hesitated, poking the fire with a stick. After my mother died, my father became harsh. He arranged for me to marry a man nearly 40 years older. Thomas helped me escape. We married with nothing except hope. Preston nodded slowly. Then he was a good man. He was, she whispered, and losing him felt like losing my whole world. Preston let the silence sit for a moment. My ma used to say a life isn't measured by how long it is, but by what it touches. Sounds like Thomas lived a full one. Emma wiped a tear. He did. And you, Preston said softly, still deserve a life too. Emma opened her mouth to reply, but no words came. She stared at the fire, feeling something unfamiliar warming the cold places inside her chest. The next day's journey was easier. Preston let Emma and the children take turns riding while he walked beside the horse, telling stories that kept Sarah laughing and Jacob wide-eyed. By late afternoon, they crested a hill. The land opened wide, revealing the Holbrook Ranch, a large house, barns, corrals, and fields, stretching farther than Emma had ever seen. Her breath caught. Mr. Quincy, maybe this was a mistake. Preston, he corrected gently. And you'll do just fine. At the farmhouse door, Robert Holbrook greeted them, a barrel-chested man with kind eyes. After hearing Emma's story, he led them to a snug worker's cabin with 2 small bedrooms and a sturdy stove. Place has been empty too long, he said. Beatrice kept it ready for families. Does my heart good to see little ones here again. Emma ran a hand over the smooth wooden table. She could almost imagine her children sitting there, eating real meals, laughing again. The job is yours if you want it, Holbrook said. Emma's voice trembled. Yes, we accept. Over the next several days, Preston stayed to help them settle in. He fixed the roof, built little beds for the children, and carved shelves for Emma's few belongings. He worked from sunrise to sunset, but always ended the day sitting on her porch with a cup of coffee and a quiet smile. Emma found herself looking forward to those moments more than she dared admit. On the fifth night, a storm rolled in. Rain pounded the earth. Thunder shook the cabin. Emma was calming the frightened children when someone banged on the door. It was Preston, drenched and breathless. "Roof leaking?" he asked. "No, thanks to you," Emma said, confused. "Good," he replied, removing his hat. "Mind if I wait the worst of it here? Bunkhouse isn't as tight as this place." Quote. Emma knew he wasn't telling the whole truth, but she stepped aside anyway. The children threw their arms around him. Preston made them laugh with hand shadow animals until they drifted to sleep despite the storm. When the cabin finally quieted, Emma and Preston sat at the table sipping warm coffee. The lamplight flickered softly between them. "I ride out tomorrow," Preston said suddenly. "Boss expects me back." Emma's heart dropped, so fast she almost gasped. "Of course, the children will miss you." "Just the children?" His voice was low. "Careful." Emma looked down at her hands. "We all will. You've been very kind." He shook his head. "Kindness had nothing to do with it, Emma." Her heart thudded. "At first, maybe I stayed because I didn't want to leave you alone. But after that," he swallowed. "I didn't want to leave because I can't stop thinking about you." Emma's breath caught. Lightning flashed outside, but all she saw was his eyes. "I know you're still grieving," Preston said. "I know it's too soon. I'm not asking you for anything. I just needed you to know." Quote. He stood as if ready to leave, but didn't move toward the door. Emma's voice shook. "Thomas made me promise something before he died. He told me not to let grief steal the rest of my life." Preston went still. "I didn't think it was possible," she whispered, "but I would like it if you wrote to me. And if you came back." A slow, stunned smile spread across his face. "Emma, I'll come back. You have my word." Outside, thunder rolled across the plains. Inside, for the first time in a long time, Emma felt something like hope rising within her. 3 months passed, and winter settled deep over the Wyoming plains. Snow covered the Holbrook Ranch in soft white blankets, and the cold air smelled of pine and smoke. Emma had grown stronger during that time. Her cheeks were full again. Her hands were steady. Her children laughed more each day. But every night, as she tucked Sarah and Jacob into their little beds, she wondered the same thing. Would Preston keep his promise? The answer came with the first snowstorm of winter. As Emma stepped outside to shake out a rug, she saw a lone rider coming through the swirling flakes. Her breath stopped. The horse was familiar. So was the broad-shouldered man leading it. Preston Quincy had come back. He smiled when he saw her, a real smile that reached his eyes. "Emma," he said softly, "hope you kept a pot of coffee warm." She laughed, surprised by the joy that burst inside her. "Always." He brought gifts for the children, simple things but thoughtful. A little wooden horse for Jacob carved from pine, a red ribbon for Sarah's hair. And for Emma, a leather-bound journal. "For your stories," he said. "You told me once you used to write them." Emma held the gift to her chest, touched beyond words. No one had remembered something so small since Thomas. Through the following weeks, Preston worked beside Holbrook, helping prepare the ranch for winter. He was steady, patient, dependable. He taught Jacob how to whittle small shapes and showed Sarah how to read tracks in the snow. The children adored him, and Emma, her heart changed in ways that scared her and comforted her at the same time. One night, after the children were asleep, she watched Preston fix a leather bridle by the fire. She noticed something different about him. His restlessness was gone. He looked peaceful, like he finally belonged somewhere. "You've changed," Emma said quietly. Preston looked up. "How so?" "You're gentler. And you don't seem like a man chasing the next horizon anymore." He smiled a little. "Maybe that's because I finally found what I was chasing." Emma felt her cheeks warm. She looked down, pretending to straighten the blanket over her lap. 2 days before Christmas, Preston asked if she'd walk with him to the frozen creek behind the cabin. The world was quiet there. the snow glittering under the pale sun. "I've been offered a permanent position here," Preston said. "Holbrook wants me to help expand the herd in spring." Emma's heart lifted. "That's wonderful news. The children will be happy." "And you?" Preston turned to face her, the cold air turning his breath into clouds. Emma swallowed. "I am happy too." Preston took her gloved hands gently, warming them between his. "Emma, I know it's soon. I know you've been through more than most. But I love you, and I love your children. I want us to be a family." Emma's eyes filled with tears. "Preston, Thomas will always be part of me." "I know," Preston said softly. "And I would never want to take that from you." Her voice shook as she whispered, "Thomas would have liked you." Preston's eyes brightened with hope. "Does that mean, quote?" "Yes," she whispered. "I'll marry you, Preston Quincy." Their wedding was small but full of warmth. Reverend Walsh rode out from Sweetwater Junction. Sarah scattered pine needles down the aisle. Jacob carried the simple gold band Preston bought in Cheyenne. As Emma said her vows, she felt Thomas's presence like a gentle hand on her shoulder, blessing this new beginning. That night, under a sky full of stars, Preston wrapped his arm around her as they stood on the porch. "I never thought I'd have this," he said. "A home, a family, you," quote. Emma leaned into him, feeling safe in a way she had not felt since Thomas was alive. "Life is strange," she whispered. "The day I met you, I was on my way to give up my children. And instead," Preston said, kissing her forehead, "you found someone who wanted all three of you." Spring came early the next year. Flowers pushed through the thawing ground, and the ranch came alive with color. Emma planted a garden while the children helped Preston mend fences. Laughter filled the cabin daily. One warm evening in May, as the sky glowed gold, Emma took Preston's hand and placed it gently on her stomach. "We'll need a bigger cabin by winter," she said softly. Preston froze. Then joy exploded across his face. "A baby? Truly?" Emma nodded, tears shining in her eyes. "Truly." Preston lifted her into his arms and spun her in a circle, laughing like a man who had found every dream he never knew he had. That night, as they lay beside each other in the quiet cabin, Emma thought about the long road behind her. About hunger, fear, loss, and the stranger who had become her future. "Life is strange and wonderful," she whispered. Preston brushed his thumb over her hand. "Sometimes blessings come dressed as hardship." Emma smiled. "And sometimes," she said, "they come dressed as trail-worn cowboys." Outside, the Wyoming night hummed with life. Inside, Emma and Preston held each other close, dreaming of the life ahead. A starving widow once said, "Take my children." A cowboy had answered, "I'll take you too."